And delighted to welcome to the podcast Dublin hurler and winner of 5 Dublin senior club titles in 6 years with Cuala, Sean Treacy. Welcome to the podcast. How are we?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, lads. Thanks for having me on.
You kept the All-Ireland winner out of that one, Dan, did you?
See, two All-Ireland wins, Sean. 2 All-Ireland.
I didn't want to have to bring it up, but we got there.
Yeah, we have a lot of Jared's listeners, so I didn't want to overdo the Cuala talk.
The Jared's Cuala rivalry is still strong.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, somehow we've actually started a hurling team. I don't know if you know. So
I've heard. My girlfriend's brother is on it, Alex.
Yeah, he turned up. He plays it like I don't know. He was unbelievable. Like, but he's a bit like manic and all over. Like, but it was brilliant to watch him. Like.
He rocked up with a new hurl.
Oh, did he? Yeah, and I wonder where he got that from. But he texted me after one of the sessions. He says, "Geez, I know why you do it. I just really want to get better at it." And he sent me about 6 texts. I just want to get better, and I was like, "Yeah, I'd say you do."
He goes to me, I go, "How are you pretty decent at hurling for someone that hasn't really played?" He goes, "Oh, I know Sean Treacy's my assistant boyfriend." And I was like, that doesn't mean how you're good at hurling. Like, do you mean I know Sean as well? Like, I'm useless.
No, but I've been over a few times recently and banging the tennis ball off the wall. He's committed, I tell you. He's committed.
That's good to hear. Well, listen, take us back to a little bit of the Cuala hurling and starting off with it. How did you become involved? Because you obviously started off playing both hurling and football, and I suppose you were lucky in a way that the underage team that you came up with was right up there and at the standards of Dublin, some of the best Dublin underage teams already. Like,
so I was lucky. Well, obviously, I grew up. Obviously, Dave he's 6 years ahead of me, so. And then obviously my dad is hurling Cuala mad and Dublin mad, so it's not as if I didn't have a choice, but I was raised into it. So, and as you said, the group I was with, the 95 group, were quite good and quite successful all the way up through, and we stayed, like a lot of lads dabbled with kind of soccer and rugby as well, but we remained all the way up until minor, so we were together for a good lot. And as you said, we both of the panels were kind of the same team essentially. So like, it wasn't as if we were blessed with numbers. Like, you'd have the same 21 lads that were tugging out for both teams. So it was good. And like, as I said, my dad was a big influence on me, but like, you had the likes of Willie Brain was our coach, very young. You had the likes of Ken O'Sullivan, who was Connor's dad, Jerry Killian, who was Kevin's dad. So it was very, very much a family thing, and we were lucky that we had the coaches we had all the way up.
Yeah, the fact that, like, again, as a Jerseyman, that I recognise all those names and know how influential they were in Cuala. But I guess, I suppose, was it the under-15 championships from memory here now that it really started to become serious? Because I remember you guys were going on both fronts, on the hurling and the football, when you were in school.
Yeah, so under-15, I'd say, was probably our most successful year, because I think the year before we were Division 2 in football, so we kind of got red. We went through a rough year in terms of just didn't play that well, and results went against us, so we were actually relegated to Division 2. Sorry, that was under 13, so that meant we were Division 2 Féile. So we had a good run in the Féile. We actually got to the All-Ireland B final down in, I think it was in Kildare, and we actually lost on the day. It was like 7-4. It was probably the worst game ever on the big pitch. Yeah, I think it was against Dunboyne we lost to. But then the next year I think we might have won the league as well. I can't really remember how we got, but we went back up anyway to Division 1. And I remember in the summer we played a challenge game against Ballybowden, who actually won the All-Ireland A Féile that year. And I think it's funny, we had Jack Bean in goal because he was going to be away for some of the match. Yeah, Jack Bean in goal. I think he let 10 goals in. So that was at the very start of the season. We were like, oh God, they're the Division 1, the kingpins of Division 1. So is this what we're expecting for the year ahead? But eventually we kind of just got our act together and we played quite well throughout the year in both codes. And then obviously the 2 championships we won. I think we played Ballybowden in the championship final that year. And I think we won by 9 points or something in the end. So that was obviously a huge win, considering we were in Division 2 the year before.
Geez, when you were bringing up that challenge with Ballybowden, I just presumed that you maybe beat them and knew that you were at that level, but it was actually that was the match that almost kick-started and going, okay, we actually have a lot of work to do here. But it's amazing. Like, I don't think that's replicated in many other years. I understand underage is a little bit more, things can change very quickly, but you guys went from getting hammered there to ending up winning not just football but both championships that year.
Yeah, and like we were lucky in a sense that, I don't know, I think it wasn't a case of, oh, we're starting from ground zero. Like, we knew we were a good team. It's just, I don't know what went wrong the year before that, but we were kind of just like, okay, that's the standard we have to get up to. And it was kind of it was a good reminder for us, like that, oh, there's the Kingpins of Dublin there. That's who we have to get to. And then slowly as the year went on, we kind of just, like, we had a few good results. I think we actually lost to Ballyboden in the league that year. But like, we weren't getting blown out, and we were kind of finding our feet in Division 1 again. And then as the championship, I think we had a tough enough run in the championship as well. We played Vincent's away in the semi-final, and then I can't remember the quarterfinal, but it was a tough run. Might have been Sylvester's out in Malahide. I think it was a midweek championship game, if I remember correctly, and we won that. So slowly we kind of started to believe again, and then, as you say, we met Ballyboden in the final and we won. So it was good to have a hammering at the start to kind of say, right, we're ground zero, here we go.
Does it help maybe in a way that, you know, as Dublin development squads move on and players from all over the county join together for that, and you start to see the standard, and maybe for yourselves when you're in Division 2 going, yeah, we can get to that level again. Is that something that you found when you're playing up against the guys when you're in Division 2 and seeing them at a Dublin development level, that, you know, you were well able to compete with them?
Yeah, and it's funny, like we had a really good team. It's just, I don't know what happened the year before that we just didn't play well, and so we were in Division 2. But like we had a handful of lads that were on those development squads, so like we knew, like, we were a good team. It's just what happened the year before just kind of set us back a bit. So we always knew that we were a good team. It was just finding I don't know how, like, we just had to find it somewhere, and eventually we did, and luckily we obviously won. So
moving on to like minor level and stuff, were you still playing football as well as hurling, or?
Oh yeah.
So were a lot of players in that position playing both sports?
Yeah.
And when did that go all the way through to minor, and then there was a decision to make in terms of senior going between hurling and football?
So, as I said, like, we were lucky that the 95s, we obviously had a good group of 21, 20, 22 lads that actually played both. So it was the same lads week in, week out that we were playing with. So we were obviously lucky. And then obviously the team, we were lucky again, like the 96s. We obviously had the likes of Con and Jake who would play with us. And then you had the lads above, Cian O'Cala and Colin Cronin and the likes of those as well. So we actually had a good group. But yeah, the decision, so I think I obviously preferred hurling. I just had this preference for it, and like I was fond of the football, but if I wanted to win a minor, it would have been the hurling. And I think we lost in the semi-final to Crokes. We were 11 points down at half-time when we clawed it all the way back and went to extra time. We had 2 penalties in the game. We took a point for both of them to level it. And then we went to extra time, and then they actually turned the screw on us again, and they ended up beating us again. So I was a bit disappointed with that. But then obviously we played Crokes in the final of the football, which is always a nice one to beat Crokes in the football. And then after minor, it's kind of it's similar with all clubs that, like, it depends on different teams. So like Cuala, where we had, I think it was 3 adult teams at the time for both codes. So obviously the team kind of scattered a bit, and with 6th year and different things happening, lads kind of went their own way. But like, I was playing senior. I think I played the minor semi-final, we lost, and then I was actually rushed out to sub for the senior team in the championship that day, which we lost again. So it became apparent that I was going to make the decision to turn to hurling pretty quickly. Like, so.
It's because my own experience with you would have been playing a lot of football, particularly that 6th year. And actually, as you were talking there, I was just thinking how we kind of threw that championship away that year. Do you remember we were kind of on fire after beating Oatlands and maybe got a bit ahead of ourselves? But I suppose you looked like you were really enjoying your football then. But I guess for you, it was just hurling was that little bit appealed to you just a little bit more because. Yeah,
it's not that I didn't enjoy the football. It's just, I don't know what it was. It was just I just enjoyed it, but like being on, I don't know, it was a weird one because like I really enjoyed my time with Cuala football, and like it's not as if I didn't like it or anything. It's just I just had this preference for hurling. Maybe I think it's ever since I was playing when I was young. It was just hurling first, and then I think it's my alpha as well. He was more hurling mad, so I think that may have been drilled into me a bit more as well.
We were speaking to Cormac Ryan from Whitehall a couple of weeks ago on the podcast, and he was talking similarly about hurling and how hurling was the sole focus. Did it kind of take a sharper turn when, you know, likes of the Dublin development squad came along and then the Dublin minors came along? Does it start to maybe focus the mind and say, yeah, I want to push this? And obviously with your brother, of course, being 6 years older and having, you know, seeing him play for Dublin as well.
Yeah, and it's like when I went up to the minor team, it was my first year. There was a handful of lads that were actually playing both, because obviously I think that year we had a good group. Again, like you had the likes of a lot of the lads that are on the senior team now, like Eric Lowndes was a dual player. He was a savage hurler as well. Eric Lowndes, obviously. Cormac Costello was Kieran Kilkenny was the year above, but similar to those lads that were actually doing the dual, and you could tell it was straining for them. But I think we got to both All-Ireland finals that year in 2012. So it was possible for lads, but again, just the decision had been kind of made by, like, I had a trial for the minor football. That was a freezing cold out in Clontarf fall weather pitch. I'll never forget it, of course. And that was really it. It was kind of just a trial, and I decided that I'm going to stick to the hurling anyway.
And then in terms of like moving on from minor into under 21 panels and senior finals, how focused were you in terms of your inter-county career and wanting to get to Dublin senior? Was that always a goal of yours, or was it something that, you know, if it happens, it happens kind of thing?
It was, if it happens, it happens. Like I never, obviously I was very lucky to be on, like I was on that really good minor team in 2012, and that was my first year. And then obviously the second year I was actually the captain. So I was very lucky that I had that kind of success at minor level. And I was kind of hoping that it would kind of progress, of course, but I wasn't putting pressure on myself, like it has to happen immediately or it has to happen now. Like, so yeah, I just took it as it came, really. And obviously luckily I had a successful minor Cuala team as well, so that kind of helped us.
What was it like being involved with Dublin at that time? Because Dublin hurling kind of went through a renaissance. You think of, you know, the league, the National League win, the Leinster final win in and around the time that you were playing minor. Does it start becoming, you know, when players now are making the decision whether they want to play dual, they might look at the footballers like Conor Callaghan and go, you know, I could possibly win an All-Ireland inter-county. But at that time, when you were, you know, coming into the senior rank, was there a real excitement and a real air of, you know, we can do something here with the Dublin senior hurlers? Oh,
absolutely, because I remember, I think it was 2011, Dublin won the league against Galway that year, and obviously I was minor the next year. And it's funny, we played a minor semi-final against Kilkenny in Portlaoise, and it turns out the seniors were playing after us in the same, I think it was the semi-final as well, against Kilkenny. And like our match was packed because both sets of supporters were obviously, and like you wouldn't have had that years ago for the Dublin hurlers. Like I know Portlaoise, a smaller venue, but it was packed out, and like the atmosphere, it was like I was playing. It was like we were the main match, really, because the fans or the supporters showed up for both games, and you just tell there was a buzz like around Daly, and like it was building. You could definitely sense it, and like especially with the way our minor team was run, it was very professional, and you could just tell that they'd been putting in a lot of effort underage to kind of get to that point.
And then at the same kind of time, Cuala senior hurlers had started to make kind of waves. Talk us through that first year, that 2015 Dublin Championship win, and when did it become apparent that you guys were genuine contenders? And did you ever feel it was on the cards, because obviously they hadn't won one since '94? Was there a lot of pressure on the team once they knew that Cuala had a good team and potential Dublin winners?
I think the biggest thing was getting in Matty, obviously, but that was huge, because he came in like in 2012. The same players were there. They'd obviously lost to Crokes in that championship final, and like that was kind of we're here now. We'll play it and see how we go. But once Matty came in, he kind of instilled a belief, and say in his first year, like we didn't win it, but like you could kind of tell that, okay, there's definitely something here, and he instilled that in us. And like we obviously we still do. We had a really good team at that time, and he kind of instilled that belief into us. And then 2015, just it came at the right time. Like the belief was there, and I think the performances obviously matched that. And then we got to the Leinster final, and I think we were kind of riding a bit of a wave, and we took I think it was Oulart, we took them for granted, took it, or kind of saw past, and we were like, oh, we'll ride this wave, and we were caught in the day. So, but no, it was definitely Matty coming in was the big thing for Cuala anyway.
Did it help that you were almost 20 at the time? You were a lot older, and you'd experienced success with Cuala all the way through. That it kind of just felt natural for you, and maybe the group of your brother and Cian O'Callaghan and guys that were maybe a little bit older, that it kind of helped from there really, and you kind of brought on a fresh sense that could just build on to what Matty Kenny had started.
Definitely, yeah. It definitely helped, because I kind of the transition from from minor to senior wasn't, because I dabbled with it like under 16. I kind of played a couple of minutes in a couple of games. I remember a league match I went to support, and I think a Cuala player went off injured, and I was just in my shorts and my t-shirt, and I had to rob Paul Chute's gear and go in and play full forward. I think I was like 15 or 16, so I remember that was my first taste of senior hurling. So I had glimpses in and out. So the transition actually wasn't too hard. But then once my first game in championship, that was a different intensity, and you just kind of got used to it. But playing with Dave really helped, because he was like, and then his mates, I'd been around them a lot from being at their matches, so I kind of knew them as well. So the transition wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be.
And any game becomes easy if you have a warm up, unlike that first game when you're just turning up and getting the call. Yeah. So I guess anything's easier after that.
Yeah, that was in the helmet. I looked good playing, because the coat I had the World Cup boots and the white Cooper helmet, so I was happy enough. But definitely wasn't expecting to go in there anyway.
You couldn't get away with that now. But just after that,
no, not at all. Just
after that win, and you kind of kicked on from there. And was there a real sense in the group that, everyone kind of looked around each other and went, we could do this for another couple of years. We can really push on and become, the dominant force in Dublin Senior Hurling.
Oh yeah, big time. And like, it was a case of, we really let one slide there against Oulart. Like we didn't perform. Like, I think we made a late charge towards the end, but I think we were 14 or 13 points down. It was just a mountain to climb. So it was a case of, we've let one go there. So the whole build up for next year was try to get back to that game and go one step further. So, and obviously we had success in Dublin as well. So we were really, again, I don't want to keep saying it, but riding a wave then, but we wanted to push on even further.
And then talk us through those next couple of years and winning the All-Irelands. I suppose the first one's obviously going to be sweeter, but in a way, like, you had the first one, and then the second one was almost more memorable because of the draw and the replay and the madness of it all. Talk us through those couple of All-Ireland wins. And I guess, like you mentioned, a lot of things you're saying a lot is riding the crest of a wave. Like, was it just constantly that and just keep going, almost like just keep doing what we're doing? And
yeah, it was funny because once we won the Leinster in the first year, that was kind of the goal, really, like win Dublin, win Leinster, and then like the talk of an All-Ireland series wasn't really mentioned. But then, like, once Leinster was out, like, it was kind of, okay, shift our focus. We have a real shot here, and we had a good win against Slaughtneil up in Armagh, and then we played a good Ballyea team led by Tony Kelly, and I think we performed really well in both of those games, and it was kind of a state of, I cannot believe we just, like, you go to those matches on Paddy's Day, and you're watching the club teams, and you're like, no way will Cuala ever do that. And then once it happened, it was like, wow. But then the next year again, it was kind of like, okay, we've been there and we enjoyed the celebrations, and like, you just want to do that again. And like, that was really it. Like, we had a week of celebrating that was just like, I'll never experience anything like it again, really. So you just want to go back to that, and that's what drove us on for the next year as well.
And after you win the All-Ireland, you're literally, after a couple of weeks, you're straight back into championship action. And I remember, I think it was after your first All-Ireland win, I think you played Bridget's in the first round in O'Toole Park, which is a tight pitch. And if I'm not mistaken, Bridget's were up for a lot of the game, and I think you might have clawed it back at the end. But I remember just thinking, looking at it, going, cool, have only Paddy's weekend was a couple of weeks ago. How are they straight back in? No favours, just the way that the schedule is. And is that, in a sense, you know, a little sometimes good because you literally, you're kind of still on that, like you said, crest of a wave, or is it at times a bit draining, like, oh, we could really do with another couple of weeks break?
Thinking about it back now, thinking about it now, and thinking about it as if I was at the time, you're kind of thinking, wow, the county board have done us no favors here. That okay, we're playing a match, but it's the GAA fixture calendar. That's, I think, a lot of clubs and a lot of counties go through it. So it was kind of a case of, I actually agree that we didn't have enough time to kind of go on that break and go and enjoy ourselves even more and go a couple of weeks or a month or two to actually lose it. So we kind of still had it. Yes, we had our celebrations, but like once we started back training, it was just a case of we're going to keep going here. And yeah, the matches were tough. I don't think we played as well, of course, because I think we were a bit drained in that, but we it was just a case of get the job done, really, and that's what we did.
That's what you hear a lot of like, you know, the great Ballyhale team saying the hardest thing is to get out of Kilkenny, and once you get in, you get in that rhythm again of playing and fitness. And is that, you know, when you are coming up in the Dublin Championship now, and now you are the dominant force, and the likes of Kilmacud Crokes and Ballybowden, you know, they're out to beat you. You're the top guys. Does that make it, you know, in a sense, those games that little bit harder because, you know, you're coming up against the very best of Kilmacud or Ballybowden, say?
And it's because as you play on the development squads, you get to know the lads, and like, so you're playing against lads, you know, and you know what they can do, and like they know what you can do. So it's just made that little bit more difficult. Sorry, in a sense that they know what we can do, we know what they can do. It's about who gets it right on the day. Whereas when you go out to Leinster, like you may come up against a team that you may not have played before, and it's a case of just free hurling. Whereas you're against the likes of Kilmacud, there's obviously that rivalry. There's that bit of nastiness in the game sometimes. So definitely the toughest challenge was getting out of Dublin, and like all over, obviously the Na Piarsaigh game aside, but of our run, I think our closest games were in Dublin, and that was the year before as well.
So talk to us a little bit about that Na Piarsaigh game, because as you're talking about it there, I remember myself, a few lads, we were in Galway for the week, Paddy's weekend, and we went to, I think it was the Ireland-England game that day, and it just finished.
Was.
Yeah,
I think it was the Grand Slam.
And Ireland just won the Grand Slam, so
yeah.
we were on it quite early, and we were watching the Cuala game. But they were showing the Scotland-England game, I think. Sorry, not Scotland-England, but the other Six Nation game that day. So myself and a few of the Jersleys, but it happened a few of the Dublin footballers were playing in Galway that day. So
they were, yeah.
Yeah, so a couple of injured lads were watching the game with us, and we're all just crouched in front of a small TV watching the end of the Croke Park game. It was just madness the last few minutes. Talk us through that, and then it's almost, I guess, deflating afterwards that it's a draw and you have to do it all again.
It was. I've never played a game in colder conditions. I don't know what it was. Like it wasn't even the height of winter. It was obviously, and it was just so cold. I think it was about 2 degrees, and I've never played in colder conditions.
Wow.
And that's the main thing I remember from it. But if I was to say we were blessed, obviously I'm going to say no. We never stopped believing. We always thought we were going to win, but no. When Na Piarsaigh had a free, I think they had a free to go 4 points up with a couple of minutes to go. And like the prolific Shane Dowling standing over it, you're kind of thinking in your head, this is not good. So once he missed, we still had a mountain to climb. We were still 3 points down with the ball in Shawnee's hands. So we worked it well. And then once Sean, like a 21-yard free with 6 lads in the line, you're hoping. But again, once it went in, it was like, oh my God, we've got out of jail. And then we were like, we still have a game to play. We still have extra time. So that was the main thing I remember from it anyway.
What's that feeling like? Because I always remember the drawn All-Ireland final with Dublin Mayo in the football. I've never experienced an atmosphere like it after the game, because normally there's either jubilation or
nobody knows what to do.
it was like dead silence that game. And I've always wondered, as players, when they're shaking hands, going, oh, like, do you actually want to do it again? In a sense, you guys wanted to, because you know you might have got out of jail. But what is that like when you go to train in the following Tuesday?
Yeah, like after, like, it's kind of like, it's funny, we didn't know if we had to play extra time again or was there a replay, because obviously the fixtures are so tight and the National League is up and running. Are we going to try get this run off today? Are we going to have to play another 10 or whatever? So it was a case of we were kind of standing around after wondering, are we still going here? Is it a replay? And then we didn't know when the replay was. Would we have had to train for 2 weeks or a week? So, but obviously we were a bit more happy than they were, because we essentially got out of jail and we didn't play well. Like, there was things that had, like, Na Piarsaigh were definitely the better team on the day and we did get out of jail essentially, but we were definitely the happier. And then when we found out it was a week later, it was that much nicer, because 2 weeks is a lot. It's a long time in the sense of preparing for a final, because you have to go through the whole routine again, whereas the week, it kind of quickens up and you're just eager to play again. And like I that's what I remember anyway. But I remember, I think it was snowy. I think it snowed around that time as well. So I remember our video was in the Royal Marine down in Dunleary, and we're there trying to drive through the snow to do video analysis. Like, so it was just, yeah, it was surreal. It was surreal, really. I've never played in anything like it.
Just it's mad to think that GA is probably the only sport in the world where nobody knows what happens if it's a draw. Do you know what I mean? Like, 'cause it's different in different codes. It's just madness, really, isn't it?
And you'd have people saying, it'll go to a replay or it won't. Like, they know before, but we were on the pitch like, what do we do? Do we go into the dressing room? Do we not? So, but yeah, that was funny enough.
I also remember about that drawn senior football final with Dublin and Mayo was when Jerry Grogan, I think his name is, the stadium announcer, Croke Park, when he announced the details for a draw, everyone was shushing, making sure they heard it. But,
yeah.
But when you heard that the replay was in Thurles, did you enjoy that, or did you think you'd like to play in Croke Park again, or did you think Thurles, it's just such a a mecca for hurling?
It was actually in Portlaoise. It was supposed to be Thurles, but I think Thurles, they had other fixtures. They had other fixtures on that couldn't be moved. Again,
I remember it being a tight pitch. I was wondering, was it Thurles or not? Yeah, so Portlaoise.
It was Portlaoise, yeah. So it was kind of good, because we obviously, I think Portlaoise was kind of good for us, because we'd obviously played the Leinster final there, I think, that year, and then we played the Leinster final the year before. So I think, well, in my head, I was like, I actually like everything about Portlaoise, because just we've been there and done it. It's a case, we'll know the routine, we'll know where to park. Well, there was no kind of unknown about it, so I was happy enough. But again, you'd like to play in Croke Park. The only real annoying thing I found about the replay was, like, Paddy's weekend. Like, the year before, we had, I think the final was on the Friday. So you had the Saturday, the Sunday, and I think the bank holiday Monday, and it was just like everyone was home, so everyone was going to be out and everyone was going to be enjoying it. So that was the one thing I remember, that the celebrations will be had, but will kind of be a week later, if that makes sense. So it was definitely different. But now Portlaoise, I was definitely happy with, because we'd been successful there before.
You mentioned the celebrations a couple of times. How do you like? It's a weird question, but how do you enjoy it or take it all in? Because in a way, it lasts forever, like a week, and it's a great week. But in other ways, it just flies by, and then you're kind of back.
Oh yeah.
So how do you kind of savor that moment? I guess it's probably easier as you go on, but it's hard in a way sometimes to just stop and just in the moment just try and say, like, this is real.
Yeah, you can enjoy it as much as you can. We obviously went at it pretty hard, of course, but again, it's just a case of, like, I was kind of in a bit of awe as well. I was like, lads, I can't believe we've done this. Like, it's just like, yeah, like the match was 3 days ago. I was like, oh, I still can't believe that happened. I still can't believe we got out of jail. I still can't believe we went down to Portlaoise and nearly threw it away and then won it again. Like, it was just, you just soak it all in, really.
What about your own personal game. You know, growing up, you would have played a lot in the forwards, and then under Matty Kenny, you've sort of became this new position, and you've kind of taken it as your own in and around midfield.
Yeah, it's funny. I started off my senior career as a forward, and then gradually every year I've kind of been moved back. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but anyway. So yeah, I played, I think it was corner forward all throughout the Dublin Championship, and like corner forward, it's one of those positions where you can have a really, really good day, or you can be the first to come off because it's just not your day. So like I always found that I struggled in the corner, because if you have someone tight marking you whose job is just to stop you play, it's hard to get into the game. So Matty just said to me, look, we're going to try out wing forward, and that was the first round of Leinster, and I just found I had a bit more freedom. And then I was kind of more defensive, not a defensive wing back, but I'd get up and attack. But my job was to kind of lock down that side and help out whoever the wing back was, just so we weren't exposed or whatever. So I really liked it, and I actually kind of took that on when he moved me back to midfield. It was myself and Dara was obviously the gazelle Kerry man running up the pitch. So I was happy to just sit back and mind the defense, really. So that's how it kind of evolved, and it suited me perfectly.
And then, like I mentioned at the start, that you've won the 5 Dublin Senior Championships. Was this year probably the most surreal one, in the sense that it was almost like, for the moment anyway, there won't be any provincials and All Irelands. I know there's been a small bit of talk about it, but you know, the Dublin Championship was just everything, and I guess it was the All Ireland, because I remember speaking to one of your players on your team a few weeks before, and he was saying it's a bit of a weird year this year, to be honest with you. We're not really sure what we're doing here. You know, we're only going to win a Dublin Championship in a way, and I almost felt from that you guys weren't going to do it. Of course, then you win the bloody thing, and I was like, oh man, you guys obviously have something else in that team that's just unreal, that you still managed to win a Dublin Championship out of it.
Yeah, it was because it was, you'd hear two different sides. It was, you'll be remembered for the year you won during the pandemic, or it was, you only won in a pandemic, like no one was trying. It's kind of two sides, but I suppose we didn't get off to the best of starts. We weren't playing well at the start. Like we struggled through the group. We obviously got a hiding from the Fina, and then I think Willie Maher, our manager, just said, look lads, kind of zoned it in a bit. It's like, look, you can either be remembered for the team that won during this, and like throughout the trials of the lockdown, when you trained on your own, and then when we thought back to that, it was like, oh, this is definitely worth it. Like all the work that we did. If you're working in your pods of 6, doing sprints on the field, everyone looking at you saying, what are they at? There's going to be no competitions. Like, so it was definitely one to remember. And it was just so weird playing. It was like a friendly, playing the final in Parnell with no one. All you could hear is the subs cheering you on. So it was definitely one to remember anyway.
And talk to us a little bit about that training on your own. You mentioned sprinting. Like, you know, I was doing a small bit with the Gers, but I guess Cuala senior hurdlers without putting it mildly would be a lot more challenging. Give me in a sense of like what would be like the toughest kind of training you were doing.
It wasn't anything out of the ordinary. It was just simply, yeah, we had your running drills to do, and you just had to do them. And like it was in the heat during the summer, so like I wouldn't be the fittest in terms of running 1Ks fast or anything. So like I'd rather do the hurling anyway. But it was good, because if they left us kind of on our own, I think a lot of lads, myself, would have probably not done it. They would have taken the easy way out. But I think when you're with 6 of the other lads that are like, it's an hour long or an hour and whatever it was, so it was just a case of get through it, do the work, and you feel so much better after it. And I think we kind of took that mentality, and I think we were twice a week. We did it. We just did running set. Like, so we were I was down in Kilbogget with a group of lads, so it was handy. Walk down, walk back up. So that was grand. So we kind of got through that, and then obviously as restrictions were eased, we were able to kind of do pods of 15, and then we were up and running, really. So it was good.
It's a weird one with how the spectators and so did the whole summer, because I went to, you played James Stevens, I think it was, in a friendly,
We did, yeah.
Up in Bray Emmett, and I kind of went up to it because there was no one at the gate. There was no real crowd control or any of that. And then fast forward a month or two, when you're heading into a championship semi-final and a championship final, and people's parents can't be there, family members can't be there. It must have been hard in that sense when you're looking around and you're seeing Parnell Park and just empty spots where there could be social distance, even despite everything that's going on.
Yeah, it was definitely, because obviously you'd want your parents and your family to be there, and like even the likes of the older generation in Cuala that kind of didn't have that success, and obviously we're doing well at the minute, so you want to do it for them and you want them to be able to be there as well. But I think it was a case of, if you're allowing lads in, like who do you allow in and how many numbers. So it was I can understand it was either full crowd or no crowd, really, because again, at the James Stephens game, I think there was a few more that should have been there, and like it wasn't ideal, but we played, I think it was against Nafina, but the weirdest was kind of getting changed in the stand. You're just there sitting on where the supporters are, and you're there doing your band work or you weren't even allowed on the pitch to get physio work done. You're out in the turnstiles or the laneways getting your robe out or whatever. So it was bizarre. But again, we played one match and then we were used to it. We kind of got used to it, and then the semi-final and the final, the semi-final, quarter-final and the final were all like that. So we were kind of used to it then.
There's a great photo from your first game, and I think it was the Thomas Davis, I think it might be Davy Keogh or someone getting the physio work with a horse in the background, the brain car park.
Yeah.
When you heard the news that the inter-county season was going to be put on the back burner, if you like, and the club championship was going to be played ahead of it, was your feeling, that's the right decision, give the clubs the proper chance at it? Or were you still thinking the inter-county in the summer could have worked as well? What was your take on it when it all kind of got announced, the scheduling of it?
I was delighted, because usually when you play 2 group games in April, usually in a normal season, and then you have months of waiting around to play until, I think then it's the late September, depending on obviously how Dublin do in the county and whatever. Or sorry, but then you're waiting on the footballers, of course. So then that's late September. So you kind of have a taste of summer hurling for the club in April, and then you kind of get to September and just the weather kind of gets progressively worse. The matches get progressively tighter, and the studs start to be worn, and it's just, I think it was really good to see like the club game in the summer. And I think some of the matches, like the high scoring games, I think it definitely showed that. Like there was like our Nafina game was very high scoring. There was other really high scoring games, and like you're playing in the best position, or sorry, the best pitches at the best conditions. So, and I think it really did, like it really showed Dublin club hurling in a good way. And I think it's similar down all across the country. So the access to the club game with obviously matches, so there's no county games, so we get to see a lot more club games, which I thought was really good and really positive.
How do we replicate that going forward? Because we had a podcast a couple of weeks ago on the club county split, and by the end of it, I was almost more confused. Like the probably the best solution is probably finish the inter-county maybe July and have the clubs, but then that's not too far off of what we were a couple of years ago. And sure, that's the whole issue to start with. I guess the ideal scenario is maybe having the clubs in the summer somehow, and then maybe the county straight after. But again, like it is this year, but that's virtually an impossible thing for anyone to agree on. But is there any solution or any small changes that can make a massive difference for both the club and even the county scene as well?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, because obviously they've changed the club schedule as well. So like the All Ireland fixtures are run all the way up to December. So that's a lot, which I do agree with, and I don't agree with it. But like there was a lot of gaps we had when we were on I think we waited 10 weeks after the Leinster final. I think Schlocknail were in the football as well, so we gave them a couple of weeks after their football semi-final just to be so they could, just so the fixtures didn't clash really week on week off. So I think those gaps were long, and I think that's where it's positive. But I'd love for the club to be in summer, obviously. I think but then I honestly, I really don't know how you do it, because you'd have county managers that won't have enough work done for the And like they're obviously the bigger matches. Like if you're in the likes of Munster, it'll be very hard because it's so competitive, and then Leinster's getting more competitive. So I just don't know how they do it, keeping everyone happy, really.
Yeah, that's the problem, because even if you look at it, the GA gave, inter-county the season at the end, and they were getting the clubs to encourage it and finish it as much as possible. Yet you still see a lot of club games at the moment that have been called off, and finals still haven't been played. And in your head, you're going, okay, because of COVID, you can give it a little bit of leeway. But like October, it should be the
like I think there's like a Laois Kildare off league final still to be played, which is fair enough.
There is, yeah.
But like the Cork had no excuse from what I can tell from the football. And
there's Kerry final still to be played in football. Just on to the inter-county season this year, there's videos up of you guys back training with Maddie Kenny. How excited are you for this year with how it's kind of fallen and Laois in a couple of weeks' time?
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. I'm actually not part of the panel this year, but Dave is obviously working away, and like from what I've heard, he's incredibly positive about it, because it's hard to go from the club. That's always the real issue. Like you go from the club, the lads you grew up with, and you're training with them every day. You're local. It's great, but then you have to go out and maybe you're meeting a good way away from your house, and it's hard to get up for it. But from what I've heard from Dave, he's incredibly positive about it, and the best thing about it is everyone's kind of at an even playing field as well. There's no one county that's been training all the way through, and whereas they're all kind of even at this rate. So I think I'm hopeful that the inter-county season is played. Like again, there's going to be intrigue about it. Will there be a few surprises with the training or the work being done? So no, I'm actually quite excited to watch it. Yeah,
I hadn't realised you weren't part of the panel this year.
No, just look, I did it last year when I wasn't, the year before last, when I was kind of at nothing in a sense that I hadn't decided what I was going to do in terms of career wise. So, like last year I started the PME and Masters in Education, so I was kind of fairly focused on getting to a good start with that, and so I kind of just decided, look, I'm going to give that a real go, and maybe, because I'm 24, so it's not totally done for me. So I'm hopeful maybe down the line that once the Masters is finished and once I'm more settled career wise, that I can actually really give it a go, because I didn't want to give 50% to both and then be kind of on a losing side either way. So that was kind of the reason for my decision anyway.
Yeah, because I was thinking, because I knew you'd kind of not gone for the team in the past, and I guess it's when you're doing something like a Masters, it's so difficult to balance the two. Like you mentioned, is there any small, and again another tough question in terms of solution, like is there a case that it's just too much if you're balancing a Masters like that, or is it just like sometimes life just gets in the way and you're better off focused on your career?
It's different for everyone. Like I'm not saying there's that it's a bad thing playing county and doing your career or whatever. Like it just didn't suit me, and like I went in my first year, I think it was 2016, I went in with Dublin, and I remember I was so immature, and like thinking I was so mature, but like I didn't even drive. I didn't know what I was doing college wise. So I was in a bad place in terms of what I was going to do career wise. So then I took it upon myself. I said, right, I'm going to take myself off the panel and kind of figure things out. And I've stumbled upon secondary school teaching. So, and that was similar when the year with Matty, obviously Matty's first year, and I was with him all the way through with Cuala. So, and I had a gap year anyway. So I said, I'm going to give it a go and see if it's for me. And then once I came across the Masters, it was a case of, right, I'm going to really give the Masters a go and just put 100% into it.
Do you think, the level of inter-county training even and the attention to detail, do you think it's a little bit too much? And, going back to your minor days and the likes of Cormac Costello were playing dual, you don't even see dual players on minor level because of the commitment. Do you think it's, bordering on too much and it's affecting not only the county game but the club game?
It is without doubt, it's a huge commitment. You're there, it's 4 nights a week and then something on the weekend. So your gym, your 3 sessions a week and then maybe a match on the weekend. So it's It is a lot, but
4 nights a
again,
week, you said?
well, like you'd be in the gym Monday, training Tuesday, training Thursday, maybe, and then sometimes training Friday or video Friday, and then something on the weekend. So it is a lot because like if you're coming from Cuala, obviously we trained out in DCU that year, so like it's trainings at 7:30, you're leaving at 10 to 5, and you're not getting back till 10:30.
Yeah.
So if that's 4 nights, it is a lot. And like if you're trying, like I just took it, I said if I wanted to be successful at the Masters and prepare for the classes and teaching, I just said, look, it's too much for me. But then again, there's some lads that love it, and sure, Dave has been at it since 2009, and he loves it. So it depends on the person, really.
Yeah, and I guess for you, you've kind of got the perfect balance now where you can still play for Cuala in the hurling and the club championships. Out of interest, the next 3 months, are you training much because there's no championship for Cuala, or are you training a bit on your own? Or
I'm tipping away. It's a case of like it's what I can do. I'm lucky enough in the house that we've kind of got a rack of weights that you can kind of keep tipping away at that. So we are lucky, but again, it's obviously it's kind of unknown. Will there be provincials? I know the Munster Council were hoping that the Munster club could go ahead, and I know the Ulster club, I don't know if it is going ahead. I think it's different for Ulster, of course, but it's just tipping away and kind of enjoying the break now. And kind of obviously the school year started, and there's issues with that in terms of health and safety. So it's just getting the focus right. So I haven't been training much. Like again, it's kind of hard to train when you have no goal to kind of, so just tipping away gym wise and doing the odd running session here and there. But I say that, but no, I haven't. So
it's okay to be honest here, Sean. Don't worry.
I said that to look good. So just tipping away.
I'm sure Willie Maher liked that answer, Sean.
Yeah, God. Sure.
Well, the best bit, just before you said that, people be like, geez, fair play to Sean now, nothing to train for, and he's still training away, and then you kind of just said that at the end.
I'm trying to keep on my image, but my image is at nothing, so I just said I'll be honest.
And then just before that, when you're 22, 23, in and around the Dublin panel, and Gerard Cunningham was there with Dublin, and there was a lot of kind of lads dropping off the panel for different reasons. Was it sort of more to do with maybe the culture that was in and around it, or but for you spoke there yourself about your own decision, but did you just find, considering that Anthony Daly had left such a legacy on Dublin hurling and the feel good factor, and it just it never really kicked on, if you like?
Yeah, obviously you read a lot of things in the papers, and you heard a lot of things about lads' different decisions, but it was I never thought about it. Like I thoroughly enjoyed my first year with Dublin. It was just a case of where I was in my own headspace, where like it wasn't a case of I'm seeing those lads are dropping off, I think I'll have to do the same. It was purely my decision, and I'm sure it was their decision as well. It was nothing about it. In my head, it really wasn't anything about the culture. Like I think it was a really, really professional setup, and like I really I think we lost Cork by a point. I think in my first year in the qualifier or something, or maybe a couple of points. And like I think we had someone sent off that day, so if the result goes a different way, you're looking at a championship, a quarterfinal, or a semi-final. So it could have been a completely different year. So, but it was just that year for me. I was under 21 as well, so I was under 21 Dublin. So you're kind of getting pulled both ways in that regard. Then Cuala were obviously going really well as well. So it was a case of just a lot going on really, and then not a lot of going on career-wise for me. That really made my decision.
You're right. Do you think like sometimes people outside jump the gun, like even like myself looking in, like you said, I see, for example, I saw like you weren't involved in the Dublin panel. I'm like, there's definitely something wrong with the management, but no one questions,
No.
Paul Mannion, Rory O'Carroll, Jack McCaffrey, all leaving the Dublin footballers at different times because they were so successful. They're like, that's probably, whereas they see someone like yourself and other hurlers, they go, there's something wrong in camp. Where, like you said, I think we forget that you guys are amateurs, like complete amateurs, and you have careers as well, which is far more important.
Yeah, and it's funny the things you hear that this is going on in the setup, and you have to laugh because they honestly don't have a clue. Like some things you read may be a bit true, but like they don't have their head in the camp, so they don't know. And like like I was never a part of a toxic setup or anything like that. It was just like it's funny to laugh about now thinking back about the things that you'd read or hear, but it was never like that. And until you're in the setup, you can only really judge it. So paying attention to that noise, really, I wasn't doing that anyway.
You've been in and around Dublin hurling over the last, however long, in and around minor teams and under 21s. A lot of people will look in and go, there's a lot of really good talented players there, and they just quite haven't gelled. A lot of people have chosen football. The Dublin County Board have done a lot of things, even brought Pat Gilroy in to help with the hurlers. What is it? Is there anything like, without trying to ask you $1 million question, but is there any reason why, Dublin aren't really kicking on? Leinster is so tough with Kilkenny and Galway and those kind of teams. But is there any reason that you can kind of think, if we can do this a little bit better, we can push ourselves on?
No, because like as I said previously, in like the Dublin club game is so competitive, and like the more club, like you see that like the likes of Bridget's are coming good, like the likes of Crave or research, like it's hard to, again, it is $1 million question, just why isn't it working and why isn't it gelling? But like the talent in the Dublin club game and the talent in Dublin is certainly there, and like there has been, and if a few results go a different way, you could be thinking, it's a different outlook. But like we got to last year we got to the league semi-final, and I think we had a couple of injuries in the first 10 minutes or something that kind of derailed us a bit. So again, if results go a different way, you can kind of see it as a different kind of outlook on the year. Obviously the Laois game was very disappointing, and like you think about like that's kind of the highlight of the year, but then you think back, like we were up against Kilkenny, and then he had Greg catching the ball that kind of turned things and whatnot. So
I just remember watching that actually.
Yeah. Like it's funny. I was looking down. I don't know what I was doing. I think they had the free, and I thought TJ was just going to pop it over. I was like, right. So I was looking at I don't know what I was doing, looking at the ground, whatever. And next thing, it was as if something went off. Like the crowd went ballistic, and Cody goes mad, and I've never experienced just the switch, because I think we were 6 points up.
You were in it, yeah.
4 points up. Yeah, we were definitely doing well, and we started the game really well. And then I think just that's all the kind of Kilkenny team kind of needed. And like once they kind of have something to chase, they're going to go at it full tilt. And again, if that result goes a different way, we drew with Wexford and then we beat Galway. So you're looking at a Leinster semi-final there. So it's just a case of results, really. That's how competitive, especially with the new way it's Leinster's run.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone forgets last year of Chris Crummey's goal and all that excitement around Parnell Park and that last night. And then, maybe the Laois game takes a little bit from that. But everyone thought it was, there's a lot of hysteria saying this is a real turn for hurling in the capital. And, the Laois game was an inevitable disappointment. But they were an extremely good side, the John McDonough winners.
Oh, but they were, and like it wasn't a case of yes, we didn't play well, but like we weren't left play well. It wasn't a case of they caught us, like it was a 1 in a million thing. Like that Laois team has some serious, like I was marking Paddy Purcell, like he'd get into any county team. He's an exceptional player, and like they've players like that all along their team. So like it may have looked like a shock seeing as we came off beating Galway, but no, like there was no illusions. And I think maybe there was a bit of, I think we were supposed to play, I think it was Tipperary the next week. There may have been a bit of Tipperary on our head, and like we'll get by Laois, but no, they're a serious team, and I think they put it up to Tip for a good portion of the game in the next week. So like they're definitely, and under Eddie Brennan, they're doing some good things. Yeah.
I was just going to ask you just the last thing on that Laois game, because I know Cuala, you've had a couple of games where you're massive favourites going into Leinster. Is it sometimes, again, from the outside looking in, we're like, they definitely underestimate them, but you actually alluded to it there, that sometimes, there's a case of a perfect storm, and no matter how you kind of get your heads right and focus on the game, if a team's got that momentum, especially after a Joe McDonough win,
No, absolutely. Like, and again, I said we, like all throughout the prep, it wasn't like Tipperary weren't mentioned. It wasn't as if it was just maybe subconsciously that we were thinking down the line a bit. But like the preparation was good, and And again, as you said, they had come off a really good Joe McDonough win, and then like people forget we were actually playing down in Portlaoise, and like that crowd was, apart from the Kilkenny game that year, that was a very, very tough. It was a tough place to play, and again, it wasn't as if we played overly poorly. Like, we were in the game for large parts of it, but like their crowd really got on top of them, and of course with the Joe McDonough success, they were always going to carry that through.
And listen, you've been bringing me your time, Sean. Just before we get to a quick fire, I know you wanted to talk about your couple of loves outside of GA, because again, a lot of times people just see yourself as the hurler.
Yeah.
You know, they don't realise that you've got a lot of passions. I know golf, NFL particularly. But we'll start with Manchester United. What are your thoughts on Ollie there and that performance there last weekend?
Ollie in or Ollie out?
I don't think. See, Ollie in or Ollie out. I think, if I was to say Ollie out, I'm going to give a political answer here. If I was to say Ollie out, it would just restart the cycle of what happened with Mourinho and Van Gaal. And I think the United board should be the ones that are going out. Like, Woodward has to go. The Glazers have to go. I'm fully part of that movement anyway. But if I was to say he's the right man for the job, we're not going to win the Premier League with him anyway. So I think it's a case of taking that team to another level is going to be the big thing for him. Like, even at this stage, like, I'm thinking with Everton going the way they are, Spurs going the way they are, Spurs with Bale, like, we bring in Cavani, a 33-year-old who hasn't played in 7 months.
On deadline day as well, which never helps. But I remember we got work done in the house about 10 years ago, and one of the builders at the time had a yellow and green jersey, which is the Glazers.
Green and gold to the club is sold. That was the line, wasn't it?
And then he was back here.
That's it.
He was back here a couple of days ago, and in my head I was like, geez, the Glazers are still there. It was mad. But I do, because every time United are losing and the camera goes to Ed Woodward, I just think like when is it going to end?
Why is that? Yeah, why is that? Like, you see Spurs score their 4th goal on the first, rather than Ole. Like, you see, like, if that was happening to Spurs, it would be on Mourinho. So
yeah, fair point.
So I don't know. That would be on Mourinho, and like, you're thinking, why is this going to Woodward? Like,
I think that says it all, really. That, you know, everyone in the world knows who Ed Woodward is. He's, you know, the head of Manchester United, if you like, and he's the
John Delaney kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
John Delaney, that's who it is, exactly. Yeah,
he's the face of the Glazers, and you do wonder if United are ever in the next couple of years to push on again, is he the right man? But you know, you've kind of spoken him about there. Another topic we're going to talk about is Tom Brady. You're a big NFL fan.
That one hurt now. The Brady to the Bucks. That one was a tough one to take. Yeah, I've been taking a bit of flack. Like, are you still going to support the Patriots with Cam Newton? Are you still going to? And I am, of course. I will. But like with Gronk as well going to Tampa, it's hard. I'd say I'm 75% the Patriots and 25% Tampa.
Everyone's allowed a second team.
I have to find out. Yeah. Everyone is. Yeah. So
I'll know by your tweets on Sunday nights who you're supporting, really.
Yeah. Like, usually the tweets are about Woodward during the day, so something different anyway. Well,
listen, we'll get to the quick fire round. Sean, what's your proudest achievement in hurling?
Winning the club All-Ireland. I know it's going to be an easy answer, but winning the club All-Ireland, especially the first one, the first one, because you didn't believe that it was going to happen. So, club All-Ireland, definitely.
And like, again, people outside looking in always get ahead of themselves. Like, if I'm looking at say Dublin senior football, for example, I'm like, right, they need to target this amount of All-Irelands the next 10 years, whatever. Everyone gets ahead of themselves. Do you have any goals like that, or either team goals in terms of, do you want to win another All-Ireland, or have you got a case of just play hurling? Yeah, you obviously do. But
just get back to that. Like, and it's everything around it. Like, you think of the slog during the winter hurling, kind of getting through that, but like, again, you're doing it with your family and your friends, so you just can't. It really is, like they say, it's cliche, like club is family, is that, but it really is, and it's hard to beat the celebration, and like celebrations alone you'd want to get back to. So definitely, yeah.
It's best stadium you played in. Can you mention a few there during the chat?
Ooh, best stadium. I'm going to leave Croker out because obviously that's a big one, but best stadium. I really like. I actually really like the Gaelic grounds. I don't think I've played a competitive game, but we've had a few challenge games against Limerick down there, and I really liked it. It's a big pitch, but like the dressing rooms are savage. Like there's just little things that yeah. So I'm going to say the Gaelic grounds.
And following you on social media and stuff, I was going to ask you like post-match treats, because I know for some reason Kinder bars and chicken nuggets seem to be associated with you. Can you tell us a little bit about the background to any of those stories? Because I'm not in on that. So when I see them, I'm like, what's going on here?
Liam Murphy told me to ask you about them as well.
Liam Murphy, yeah. No, like I think it's funny whenever someone asks me, I'm never away from chicken nuggets or Domino's. I don't know what it is. I'm really gonna have to distance myself from those two topics. But the Kinders was a funny one, all right. And it's actually related to Cuala, which is funny enough. So we played a challenge game down in Portumna, and actually, I'll give you the context here. Yeah. Kinders used to, like the Kinder bar, the chocolate used to just appear randomly every couple of weeks, just whether it be in the bin, whether it be on top of the car, in the post box, and like there was no, it was so bizarre. Like I'm like, do I have an admirer? I don't know what it was, whatever. So yeah, and like I think it happened 5 times where I received Kinders from an unknown source. Yeah, but it turns out it was actually a friend of my dad's that was doing it. And it turns out that we played a challenge game, I think it was in 2015 against Portumna down there. And I think I had them after the game. And I think what happened was it was my last one or something. And your man asked me for it or something like that. And I said, no, these are very important to me or something along those lines. And I obviously didn't give it to him, or he took it from me or something. And then little did I know, year or two, I'd be and like, totally no idea, no recollection of it. And yeah, the Kinders. And then it was funny, it's the last batch I had, the note was first one Portumna, last one Croke Park or something. Like it was really well done. But yeah, like I'm kind of disappointed that saga is over, because it was a really nice surprise.
I remember going on the time I was like, lads, for someone just telling me who said them, the Kinders, although albeit they are a lovely bar, I'd be a big fan of them now myself.
Oh, big time, yeah. Like it was just so random. They'd appear everywhere, like different in the posts, in the bin. Like it was so bizarre, and I had no idea who it was.
We spoke there about favourite stadium. What's your favourite club pitch in Dublin? We'll leave the cooler ones out, but we go favourite club pitch to play in Dublin.
Pitch. Ooh, favourite club pitch. There's a few nice ones. Ooh, favourite club pitch. I haven't played there many times, but it was around the time we actually used to train on their pitch with Dublin. It was Clontarf's pitches out there up along they were
the all weather.
So good. Well, not the all weather pitch. No, it was actually they had built new pitches, and like they were so nice. They were like Croke Park. Like I've never at that stage. I don't think I'd played in Croke Park, and it was as if I was playing on it. They were so good, and it was just they had one there, another one there, another one there. They had about 4 or 5 of them, just pristine pitches. So I'm going to say them.
One word answers to the next two. Who's winning the Super Bowl this year?
Tampa.
Jeez. Well, yeah, it's 75% Tampa now. And who wins the Premier League? And this is tough to answer. I know.
Yeah, Liverpool are going to win. I don't see anyone stopping Liverpool.
And you're a big golf fan. Who wins the Masters?
Tiger, easy, big cat. No doubt about it. That's a tournament. No doubt about it. And
then last thing, best advice you've received, as you've played for a lot of teams, is there any one advice that sticks out, or even someone listening to the podcast that, is a little bit younger and still wants to kind of develop into senior hurling or whatever? What advice would you give them as well?
What advice? I think I was kind of sort of like take it game by like it's again. I don't want to be too cliche, but like the simple ones are always the best ones. But taking everything as it comes in terms of training by training, and don't look too far ahead, because you never know what will come. So like you could have a bad session, and I remember I've had many bad sessions on the Tuesday, and then you look forward, like it's always the next session is the most important one. And I think that is for young people like that. Obviously, the goal is to play for Dublin, to win All Irelands, to win the Sam Maguire, to win the Liam McCarthy, whatever it be. But I think the most important thing is to take each training session as it comes, no matter if you've got the final on the Saturday. Think about the training session that you're about to go to. I think that's helped me, and I think that's really, really important, especially for younger groups.
Sean, great way to end. Listen, you've been brilliant. Thanks a million for coming on the podcast.
I appreciate you having me. It was great. I really enjoyed it. Thanks.
Nice.